Talk to me about leaving the UK, making the flight over, and what it felt like for you.
It kind of, to sum it up, it was a really there's no going back now kind of moment, because I've been thinking about it and dreaming about it for such a long time that it almost didn't feel real until the point where I actually got on the plane and I was like, well, here we go. We're in it for the long haul now, son. So just getting on that plane and realizing that the next chapter was starting, that was surreal, definitely.
Welcome back to another episode with me, your host, George, at Georgeonsports. And as you can see, he's got the Academy shirt on. It's none other than Fred Pelling, originally of the NFL Academy, now playing Div 1 football out in Hawaii at the University of Hawaii with the Rainbow Warriors. Fred, first and foremost, thank you for joining the show, and how are you?
Great to be here. Nice to talk to you again. I'm okay. Nice to be waking up in an island paradise again. It's a pretty cool feeling.
No doubt.
Waking up every morning and working out the team and just putting another day in the books.
So before we actually started recording this, you mentioned the fact that it's, I think, 10:30 over there in Hawaii, but you've been up for a number of hours. Just for the listeners and the watchers, just tell the people why you've actually been up for so long, bearing in mind it's already only 10:30.
So if someone misses a class or is late to something, they get put on what's known as warrior reminder. And for the first offence, it's a 400-yard plate push with a 45-pound plate from the gym and put it on the field. So you just got to put it on the floor and just drive that sucker to the end zone, pick it up, walk it back, run it back. So we were there supporting Serge.
I guess it's one of them things, right? They want you to remember why you're there, what you're doing it for, and also nobody wants to have to keep doing that. So I guess it's a bit of a deterrent.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. So before we get into it, first and foremost, there's a congratulations, because obviously you've taken the path of going to the academy. From the academy, you've obviously been to places such as JUCO, where you've played football, I believe in Kansas, and now you've made it to D1 ball, which is, it's no small thing. So congratulations to you, because it's a huge milestone in your early football career. But on the note of NFL Academy, obviously you've got the shirt on. Let's remind people, the academy itself, how did that come about for you in terms of joining the academy?
I had been playing for the Bedford Black Hawks, near to where I live, for a couple of years. And obviously the British American football world is a fairly tiny community. So as soon as the academy launched, I found out about it pretty much straight away. And it wasn't something that I'd originally given a whole lot of thought into going to. I thought maybe if my GCSEs didn't go well and I wasn't able to get into sixth form, I thought, maybe it'd be a good backup. So, and if nothing else, I thought the trial day would be a great experience and be a fun day out. So I signed up, went to the first trial, had a chat to Coach Gav and Coach TA, and they invited me to the second trial at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And it was there, after speaking to Victor, who's since moved on, and Christian Solomon Williamson, former Steelers, that it really cemented in my head that this was something I wanted to pursue, something I wanted to give my full effort and attention to.
Just before I ask you the next question, because don't worry, we can edit this. Is there any way you can just turn the fan off just while we're recording?
Yeah, I thought that might was probably.
Don't worry, because I can just edit all of this, so none of that will be involved. So, nice, sick. All right, appreciate it. I appreciate it's probably quite warm over there, so my bad. Okay, so I'll continue from where you left off. No doubt. I mean, there are a number of people who have seen what the academy have done for people. I recently spoke to Peter Clark, someone you know really well, who's out in Philly at Temple Owls. Obviously, now linking back up with yourself to reunite and have a catch up, and now you're in Hawaii. The NFL Academy, I mean, it's relatively new in the UK, and it does, like you said, provides opportunities for people like yourself, like Kofi, like Peter Clark, to not only study but achieve, and to end up in places just like yourself and the other guys that I mentioned. So that being a springboard to where you are now, obviously you had a bit of JUCO ball in between that. But in terms of the journey you've taken, if you were to look back at the journey of you joined the NFL Academy, you go and play JUCO again, which is an achievement in itself. People know JUCO from watching the series of Last Chance U, Garden City Academy, and everything that happened there. And now you're in Hawaii. You know, it's saying, being able to say that is a feat in itself. It's not, not every person can just turn around and be like, yeah, I'm in Hawaii playing D1 football, It doesn't really happen that way. So looking back on your journey, and again, this is early in your career, hopefully you're going to ascend and do greater things, but what does it feel like to actually have a look at your progress so far?
It's one of those things that it just kind of hits me every now and again, just walking to class or, in the weight room, just go, damn, I'm in Hawaii playing Division 1 football. That's crazy. But for the most part, it's because it's such a gradual process, and there are such short, small stepping blocks from the academy to JUCO to here, and it all takes quite a long time to kind of put it all together. It kind of feels like a natural progression, but yeah, when you kind of just stop and realize to where you are, it does feel kind of crazy.
Yeah, I'd like to use the word surreal.
Yeah.
Because I know for a fact those backdrops in Hawaii, being on the island of the weather, very different to the scenery in London
Very
here.
different.
But on the note of change and adapting, let's talk about when you officially left the UK and boarded that plane. You said goodbye to your friends and family, and the plane takes off, the wheels disappear, and off you are. You're not looking back, you're looking ahead. Talk me through that emotion, because Peter had a very interesting response in terms of the emotional journey being up and down on the flight. You're thinking about your family, your friends, everyone you left back home. You're thinking about your journey, but you're also then looking forward to the excitement of being able to be in a situation where everybody is trying to achieve the same thing in terms of being successful in not only in your education and your studies, but in board as well. Talk to me about leaving the UK, making the flight over, and what it felt like for you.
It kind of, to sum it up, it was a really there's no going back now kind of moment, because I've been thinking about it and dreaming about it for such a long time that it almost didn't feel real until the point where I actually got on the plane and I was like, well, here we go. We're in it for the long haul now, son. So just getting on that plane and realizing that the next chapter was starting, that was surreal, definitely, because it is something I've been thinking about for such a long time that when it finally happened, it was a bit mad, really.
When you landed, you obviously you've left the academy in a very well reputable brand and name. You get to I've never been to Hawaii. I don't know what the airport is like. I've got no idea. But did you have someone with a sign, going Fred Pelling, waiting for you there when you got there?
No, it wasn't quite like that. One of the coaching assistants picked me up, and I was just waiting outside, surrounded by palm trees and Hawaiian shirts, and
wow,
I can get used to this place.
You kind of segue onto another topic there. But before I get onto that, I want to talk about what it was like when you arrived at your, I suppose, accommodation or at the university campus. Talk me through that. You've had the flight journey. No going back now. You've landed, you've touched down in Hawaii. You said it, the palm trees, the floral shirts, maybe a bit of music as well, the weather. It's setting in now, your mind is changing in terms of this is where I'm at. But talk to me about when you arrived at, I don't know if it's the campus or the accommodation, and you open the door and you're like, okay, this is it. This is where I am. Talk me through those emotions and those feelings.
When I got here, it was dark, so I couldn't really, just driving around, I couldn't see a lot of stuff. But when I got to the dorms, and they showed me, and I thought, I get used to this. It was just it was kind of a certain amount of kind of self-completion that, I've got here now. That chapter has closed and we're opening a new one. So it was kind of, the juxtaposition or finishing one thing and then starting the next, and leaving one kind of place behind and one set of people, and then embracing a new one.
Yeah, I like the word there, embracing it, because I guess that brings a lot of change. You've gone from somewhere like the UK. Obviously, you've been stateside with JUCO, but Hawaii is a different beast, all for the good reasons, obviously. Talk to me about your first few days, because I feel like the first few days, or maybe even week, where you're trying to adapt to the time difference. I believe 10 hours, right?
Yeah.
I think it is 10-hour time difference. You're now in your dorms. You're now at a location where everyone you're surrounded by is focused on the one goal, which is do well in your school, in your studies, in your education, but we want to ball out and we want to achieve things. We want to win titles. Talk to me about your first few days. And was it information overload? Was you overwhelmed? How did it go?
They were incredibly busy. It was on the go for 14 hours at a time. When you get here, there's a lot of onboarding stuff, medicals, sickle cell testing, meeting your advisor, all that kind of thing. So it was really non-stop when I first got here. But meeting the players in our first team meeting was great. Everyone here, all the teammates, were so warm and welcoming. And I think that's maybe a slight difference between playing in JUCO and playing at a 4-year school. At JUCO, everyone's there trying to win, obviously, but you've also got your own goal of trying to move on to a Division 1 school. So not people playing for themselves as such, but everyone's got that thing in their mind that it's competing goals. But here, it's all about competing for the six trophies we're allowed to compete for. At the start of every team meeting, he puts them on the slideshow on the PowerPoint, and it's just a reminder that that's what we're all here for. So it's really single focus goal here.
What would you say are some of the main differences? So you've played, you touched on one there in terms of not people wanting to play for themselves necessarily, but you have a bit more of a brotherhood, let's say, now that you're out with similar D1 ballers. But if you're to look at your time in the UK, your time at JUCO, and your relatively short time in Hawaii with the Rainbow Warriors, but not just with the team, the vibe, the atmosphere, walking around campus, if you like. You're not a small guy by any means. I looked at some of the reports, and the team was describing you as big offensive line guy, strong, solid, able to hold his stance. What's the difference in terms of the atmosphere, the vibe, the tenacity, if you're to look back at the UK, JUCO, and where you are now?
Well, I'd say it's a lot more similar to playing at the academy than it was at JUCO, partly because at the academy, because we were so affected by COVID, we couldn't play games. So the practices were like games. The competition was insane. Everyone was putting their body on the line and laying it down just for bragging rights, really. Just, around the classrooms and the weight room the next day. I'd say that's quite similar to here. Practices are very intense. There's a lot of energy. There's so much energy. I mean, even in our meetings, I don't do a lot of special teams, but we're all in the special teams meeting, and they're so lively and fun. I don't know if the listeners have seen The Wolf of Wall Street, but there's one moment when they all start going,
yeah.
That gets put on at the start of every meeting, and everyone stands out, hands up, and starts joining in with it. And then the coach comes running down the steps and, "Are you ready to ride or die?" And everyone's ripping off, "Chee-hoo!" Which is a big island thing. So it's just an incredible atmosphere and incredible energy to be surrounded by.
Man, it sounds it. I mean, I'm trying to picture the scene. I mean, from the moment you said you've got that clip on the TV and the coach is running down the stairs, I guess they fit. The vibe is real. The energy in the room, the hype. You want to get ready for the day. You want to go out there and train like you're about to play a game. You're trying to win championships at the end of the day. So I can't say I'm surprised to hear that. But how exciting, man, to be in Hawaii in that kind of atmosphere, in that weather. Which brings me to another question. Were there any culture shocks? Now, obviously, again, you've played in a few places already, UK, stateside, Hawaii. What took you by surprise the most, if anything?
Most by surprise, I would say the locker room culture is really strong here. And I wasn't necessarily, having spent so long in junior college, having spent the year in junior college, I wasn't quite ready for just how tight-knit everything is here, and I'm still trying to learn some of the guys on defense's names, but just how welcoming everyone is, and just how everyone wants to talk to you, and how they want to get to know you. I was lifting with the defense one time, and Normally we split offense and defense, but I was with the defense for this one time. And they're just how everyone's always trying to build each other up, how they're always trying to push each other so everyone can improve together. People aren't trying to put each other down. Everyone's just trying to increase the standard. The coaches always talk about the standard here and raising the standard. And I think that's something that's personified by the team really well. How it's always just encouragement and positivity. If you lose a rep or something doesn't quite go your way, people don't dog on you. They try and demonstrate to you, how tweaks you might be able to make in your technique or your stance or your timing or whatever it might be to get it done. It's not you lost, the quarterback's been hit and that's our season. It's how we improve, how we get better from that, and what we can do to correct that.
I do like that you said that, because I think it goes a long way in the sense that you guys had a brotherhood in terms of what you're trying to achieve together, the whole no I team. And something like that, I think, is going to really help on your journey with the Warriors. And I think it would help in any kind of circumstance, just because the togetherness is so important, so important. And obviously you're living proof of that, being out there and being able to experience this with these guys. But whilst you're obviously there playing D1 ball, you're obviously studying and continuing with your education too. So talk to me about that aspect in terms of, obviously, you train, you have film sessions, you hit the gym. How does that work around studying? What does your day look like roughly in terms of classes and things like that?
So at the moment we're in spring ball. So we have practice from 6:40 till about 9:30. And then we have breakfast. And then I usually, depending on the day, but I usually have classes from about 10:30 till about 3. Some days I have study hall where we meet with our academic advisors and go over our work for the week and keep on top of grades and that kind of thing. And then we have special teams meeting at 4, and then positional meetings right after that. And that usually finishes at about 6:15, 6:30. And then it's back here, usually go over the new installs for the week, just keep on top of the plays and some of the tags, cook dinner, and then hit the hay, ready for the next day.
Are you missing any home comforts?
I miss my friends and my family and my cat. But there isn't really a lot of time to dwell on that kind of thing here. You're so busy that and especially with the football, if you're not focused on that, then things are going to start to go wrong. Coach Chang talked about when you step on the field, there should be nothing else in your mind. Because if you're worrying about other things from outside of football while you're on the field, then not only are you going to be worrying about whatever else in your life is going on, but you're also going to be worried about football. Because if you don't put your full attention into that, then your performance on the field is going to suffer. So in terms of kind of thinking about other stuff, especially when you're, in the weight room, on the field, in meetings, you don't really think about that kind of thing. You just focus on the task at hand to make sure that other problems don't crop up.
So you've boarded the flight, you've made your way over. Obviously, when you were packing, I'm assuming you would have come across certain things that mean something to you, maybe from friends or family. What's the most important or sacred item that you've packed with you out to Hawaii? I mean, it's not somewhere you can just fly back home and grab. So what is it you've taken with you that means a lot to you, if anything?
I bought a card that I was written by my parents just before I left for Kansas that I keep with me, which is quite special to me. So I have that. But apart from that, luggage space is pretty limited. So there's not a room for other stuff.
All right, now, before we kind of wind things down, give me a general view of what it's like to live, breathe, sleep football in Hawaii. I mean, I mentioned it at the start of the show. The weather, I'm assuming, is great right now. You're on a obviously really beautiful island. People hear about Hawaii and I think some people's minds go to Moana and the island of Motunui and things like that, if you've seen the Disney show. But talk to me about what it's actually like being in Hawaii. I mean, the highs, any lows, what is it you're loving in particular? Because it's quite a change.
Yeah, it's a massive change. The weather's great. Obviously, it's pretty much about 25 degrees year round, which is really nice.
Wow.
Also get a bit of rain, which I really do like because Kansas was so dry. There was never a cloud in the sky that I did miss the rain quite a lot. So it's nice to have that back.
Hmm.
On kind of the weekends or days off, being able to go and hike up Diamond Head, which is if you search Hawaii on the internet, you get the view from Diamond Head. So being able to go up there, going over down to Waikiki Beach. Actually, one of the songs I like by the Beach Boys is called "Surfing USA," and they kind of just go through a list of famous surf spots, and one of them is called Waimea Bay, which is up on the North Shore. And going up to Waimea Bay, watching the break, huge waves crashing down, and listening to the song was pretty cool. That was a cool moment for me. But waking up on a tropical paradise in the South Pacific every morning it's a pretty cool feeling.
Yeah. I won't lie, I'm definitely jealous. I mean, Hawaii is special, and to be able to just play ball. And I've looked at the team. I'm loving the kit, the green and white as well. I believe it is. I mentioned it before when we met at the academy, but you got Jeff Reinbold, who's the player of personnel director. I don't know if he's out there now, but you'll probably get a chance to catch up with him too. But man, everything you're saying, it sounds amazing. I mean, you're well on your way to achieving whatever it is you want to achieve. You've gone from the UK, the academy, JUCO, and you're actually there in the flesh. And I'm here in the UK where it's nearly 9 o'clock at night, and you're out there in Hawaii. I think it kept coming close to 11, maybe it is 11 in the morning.
Yeah, just coming up.
Just coming to 11, and you're doing it right. You're living that good life, man. So I guess all that's left to say is we're coming towards the end of the show. Are there any shout-outs, words of advice, closing words, given the fact that the NFL Academy over here have just had their combine? And without a doubt, I'm sure the guys there will be hyping guys up, giving you as an example, Peter as an example, Kofi as an example. I mean, there are so many guys who have obviously made it from the academy into different levels of football, stateside, or in your case, Hawaii. So if there's anything you'd like to say to anybody as part of the academy, what would it be?
To any of the guys that might, on the off chance, be watching, I'd say just keep plugging away at it, keep stacking days. You can sometimes get lost in the vision, but if you just make good choices on a day-to-day basis, eventually those days stack up. Coach TA always used to talk about getting 1% better each day. So if you can just take one day or one task or one objective as it comes and do your best with it and put your mind to it, eventually they will stack up, and eventually over a series of months or years, you'll have something to show for it.
Well, guys, we have reached the end of the show. I can't say anything apart from I've loved that, being able to speak to Fred, who I met at the Tottenham Stadium, where he put pen to paper alongside teammates Kofi and Peter Clark, respectively. One is at Colorado and one is at Temple University, with Temple Hours in Philly. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to see the development of everything you've been doing, and we'll continue to do. And I'm glad. I think I'd like to do this again at some point down the line. I imagine you would have, you'll have your schedule in terms of training camp, and then you'll have spring ball happening. So it'd be good to speak again for the viewers too, to be able to track people who have gone to the academy and gone on to do what you're doing, to see how you're faring and see how things are going. So thank you again for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
To the people watching and listening, I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been Fred Pelling here, who's out in Hawaii at the University of Hawaii with the Rainbow Warriors, playing Division 1 football, UK born and bred, doing it big, doing it live. And I've been George from Georgeonsports, and we will see you on the next episode.